Hey, surprise announcement. Today is the rebooted merch drop, baby. Pew, pew, pew. There it is. There is a link in the description below. You can go and buy a t-shirt, a phone cover, a piece of wall art, a magnet, a mug, whatever you want. We've got great designs based on your votes. But first, we've got a season finale to do. So people get ready for the season finale of Reboot It.
Previously on Reboot It, you're fired.
I have a feeling this might be a long season.
Listen, guys, credits are overrated, okay? You need to get the hell out of my offices. You will never work for Jim Cameron.
It's a steaming pile of monkey crap. Get the hell out of here and you never come back.
Roland, do you feel the same way? Maybe not.
I have a Stargate.
We're here to tell you what the hell you should be doing with Transformers.
Let me congratulate you. You have a green light.
Yeah! Oh,
Yes!
I bought all of Roland's assets. That includes whatever this weird Stargate thing is, you know?
What about the money?
What about the money?
The problem with this is I'm about to go to rehab.
Can you?
I don't do business with people who don't listen to me, okay? Reboot Crew?
We're getting nowhere here. I think we just gotta kind of call it like we're not selling anything.
We could always do the one meeting we said we would never do.
Bill.
No.
I told you about bringing that up. I told you.
Hold on to your butts, because this is about to get real.
Fired from Subbasement D of a major motion picture studio. The development executives must go to the last places in Hollywood with money. Now streaming, Reboot It!
Oh, yeah. All right. Good to see everybody. Listen, I am a huge, huge fan of you guys. And, I'm just excited that you're here with me today. So, guys, just do me the honor, the absolute honor of telling me your names.
The pleasure is all ours. I'm producer Bill.
I'm Billy Business.
I'm Ron Swallow.
And I'm Ed Greer.
Oh, man, I love hearing it live. That's so great. Well, listen, guys, I would never say that I breathe visceral new life into tired old pulp ideas. I would never say that. But some people on the internet, they might say that. But, not your boy, the Zack Attack, okay? So we're just here to have fun today. I want to hear your pitch for Buffy the Vampire Slayer because, I don't know what I would do. Who knows?
Okay, well, we're going to present the best version possible from the Reboot Crew. We can promise you that.
I mean, we are here to do the yeoman's work. We always do a good job, right?
Yeah. Don't check out the Knight Rider episode. Skip
Dude,
that one.
We have a great track record with vampires. Wait a minute. No,
Stop talking.
No, listen, I've watched every episode of you guys' show, and all I know is I'm impressed. So listen, it's a great thing that we are all finally here together. I've been waiting for this, and I am just excited to watch you guys make magic, okay? And Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Warner Brothers wouldn't have me. They wouldn't have me, just like I know they wouldn't have you guys. But now that Buffy is with Disney, I mean, me, the Reboot Crew, Disney, Buffy, like this is gonna be some good stuff. Okay.
Can't argue with any of that.
You seem so giddy about it. You're infecting us with your energy, sir.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm totally ready.
All right. Well, I'll be calling back in a little bit. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. All right. I'm just a cool dude. We're all going to have a real good time today.
Okay.
Cool.
That was a little ominous, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, here we are, the one meeting we said we would never take, but it seems to be off to a good start. So let's see how this goes. All right.
Fine with me. We got nothing else going on.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. All right. Where are you guys all at with Buffy? Did you grow up loving it? I will just start and say I literally have only seen maybe 2-3 episodes of the show. I have more familiarity with the movie than with the show. So I am persona non grata already. I know. Around the horn, Billy, what's your take?
Medium. I think I've watched a couple seasons of Buffy. I know I watched a little bit of Angel. But like you, I think I actually saw the movie first. And I always thought it was weird that the movie and the TV show are like totally different things. So I like the movie better, but I have a fair knowledge of the show.
All right, Ron.
Well, I have seen every episode multiple times. And I'm rewatching it right now, just before we decided to do this, actually. And I love it. It's super fun and high schooly and ridiculous and over the top. And some of the episodes are literal classics, and some of them are not so great, because that's TV that goes for 7 seasons. And I've seen every episode of Angel as well, and Firefly. You know, living the dream.
Ron is standing Joss Whedon. Put it in ink, internet. Ron stands Joss Whedon.
Look, sometimes someone's good at things, but not good at being a person. So
Barry Bonds.
Dude,
Barry Bonds, one of the best hitters of all time. He was a jerk.
There you
Dude,
go.
Hollywood, sports. I'm sure in the book binding business, there's a real asshole. You know what I mean? And he's hyper competent. Those who look at the edges of those books. Okay.
That damn Harper Collins. What an asshole.
people can just throw open his books. Nothing happens.
Just lay them on their face like you're not supposed to. Nothing will happen.
Snaps back.
So I have watched. You all know me. I refuse to take anything lightly on this show. I refuse to not be prepared. So I did my Boy Scout, last Boy Scout, and I did a couple season-y watch in the last couple weeks, and I've read a lot of stuff, and I still don't get it or like it. Ha! Surprise! No. I think it's cool. I think there's aspects of it that are cool, and I've learned a lot about it. So I'm happy to contribute to however we choose to reshape it.
Well, we always ask the question, what do you think an audience is going to bring into this? But since we're live, we kind of know. So I'm going to pop over to the chat and say, Renegade Hero, I've seen the movie and grew up with the show, seen all the seasons. Seattle KO, it was my first serialized show that I got obsessed with. First time ever hearing somebody say they loved the movie more than the show. Angie E, I watched the movie and a few seasons of the show, and Angel loved Buffy. Renegade Hero, again, loved the first 4 seasons, then it kind of goes downhill. The Doomer, being a contrarian, Buffy, never my thing. Ooh, Doomer, you're going to get some heat. But it seems like Buffy is really a touchstone for an entire generation of fandom. In case you don't know, we're going to go ahead and give you the classic reboot recap. So put your big boy pants on, get ready to learn a little something about Buffy.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer began life as a 1992 feature film starring Christy Swanson as the title character Buffy Summers. She was a snooty, popular high school girl who finds out that she is, in fact, a prophesied slayer, some sort of a magic role in which she is bestowed with powers that give her heightened strength, agility, resilience, and speed to fight the forces of evil, most specifically vampires. The film was a moderate success at best, was savaged by critics, and Buffy seemed to fade away. That is, until 1997, when the original writer of the film, Joss Whedon, made a pilot for television, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Joss Whedon was unhappy with the comedic and campy tone of the original film, and overseeing the TV show, he turned it into everything he ever wanted Buffy to be. His vision was high school meets hell, and once properly realized, Buffy became an icon. The series starred Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy Summers, who is a slayer destined to fight evil dark forces, and as luck would have it, her hometown exists over a hellmouth. Many fans would argue that the series' greatest strength was in its expanded roster of supporting characters. The show gave birth to such fan favorites as Spike, Willow, Xander, Oz, and Angel, Buffy's dark and brooding love interest, who even got his own spin-off show. Buffy the Vampire Slayer spawned a wealth of merchandise, including toys, games, and a comic book series that has expanded the show with an additional quote-unquote seasons 8 through 12. A reboot has been in the works for some time, but the fallout from Joss Whedon's inappropriate behavior has left the future of the franchise completely uncertain. Now, we're here to rectify that with help from Fandom's golden child, the one and only Zack Snyder.
Well, let me ask the question then. What is Buffy about? And I think that wrapped up in that question is sort of what are the indispensable parts of Buffy? Because when you run for 12 seasons, if you include the comic books, there's a lot of mythology to get bogged down on. And this is a show that leaned heavily into mythology. So I ask both, what is this really about? And what are the pieces of it that we just would do well to not get rid of, in anybody's opinion? Jump in.
I mean, I think it's fairly obvious, with at least the TV series, that it's like, high school is hell. Being a teenager is hell. They make it quite literal. Here's where I stand on this, though. It's like the movie is so different from the TV show because the TV show decided to add so much mythology, add so many different characters to basically go a completely different way. I think it would be, personally, a huge mistake to try to reboot Angel, to try to reboot Willow, to try to reboot all of this. I say drill down to the absolute core, which is the idea of the Slayers and demons and vampires and monsters, and toss everything else that is that universe that happened over in this show. We're never going to do it as successfully as they did. Why try? We've already seen that. Let's not Twilight ourselves and just try to retell the same story again. I say screw it. Let's do something different with just the concept of Slayers, personally.
Strongly argued right there. Ron, as the Stan in the group, what do you think about that?
Well, honestly, I don't want to reiterate or anything like that, but it is basically about how tough high school is, really. When it comes down to it, they're using uniqueness as a vampire slayer. It's a metaphor for when you're kind of odd, that it's real tough to get through high school and survive it. So I mean, I love that. That's probably why I love the concept of it so much. And there's so much Slayer lore. I mean, there's Slayers from the 1700s. So there's literally been Slayers all through time. So we can do a modern one. We can do a 90s one. We can do an 80s one. We could do a Baroque one, whatever we want to do. And that's the beauty of something like this, is there isn't much limitation on what we can do. Just like you said, keep vampires, keep demons and monsters, and keep a Slayer. And then if we want to add different characters in, because that is part of the thing, is finding that little crew of people, I think it might be good, but that's up to you guys as well.
Ocean's 11 with vampires. Snyder would love it. Snyder would love it.
Kind of.
Ed, what
Well,
are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I don't want to reiterate what anybody has said before. So I think all of that plus it is a chosen one thing. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
It's a chosen one thing, and we got to do a good job of getting that part over, because that is what Buffy is. So
Can we though? So here are my thoughts on that, because I was really looking into like the Slayers and what they are, and I just kind of think it's a little bit like the Jedi in the sense that you kind of have no choice. Someone else decides that you are worthy and trains you, and then you're just that. Like, it's kind of like I suppose you could refuse, but it's just like you've been predetermined, pre-selected. And I'm not saying we take that away, but I'm saying like I think there are more interesting ways that we can turn that on its head. Like I just hate this idea of like, well, Buffy is special and chosen because she is, and it's done, and let's move on. Like, why is it one at a time? Why is it just seem to be all these females? Like, there's a lot of questions.
Well, like I said,
there's a couple
I
of
just, we have
times
to,
where there's more than one, so
right.
But it's like when one dies, it's like a Green Lantern. Someone takes its place, right?
Yep,
or like
for the
a
most
vending
part.
machine that blows from the back. He just drops layers out.
Ron, at least in the show, when there was two at the same time, it was because they thought that Buffy was dead at that point. And then when Buffy's revived, it just so happens that there's two running around. But it's like this whole Sith rule of two, rule of one, whatever it is, like they're leaving scraps on the table for us to pick up and not fill in the blanks, but I think take it and make something else cool with it.
I'm going to just be controversial from the start. I mean, I know that you might hate this if you love the show. I think the idea of an old grizzled vampire hunter selecting a teenage girl to take on this lifelong life or death mission is ripe to be a metaphor for grooming. I think there's a version of this where becoming Buffy the Vampire Slayer is not a good thing. It's almost like, can we completely flip the hero's journey chosen one trope on its head and turn it into like, no, she needs to figure out a way to not be the Slayer? Because just listening to what you were saying, Billy, the idea that like, oh, that, you know, it's this chosen path that you sort of are co-opted into against your will. Like, we could lean all the way into that.
So I actually had that thought earlier. You know, I try not to come up with pitches, but, you know, inevitably your head starts thinking of a couple things. But the first thing my head went to was the movie Wanted, where the whole time this guy joins the fraternity and he's trying to, you know, his dad's a bad guy. But then you find out, you know, 3/4 of the way through that, no, the fraternity are the bad guys. And he basically has to take them out. And it's like, I don't want to do the exact same thing, but it's like, what if the Slayers are actually, they don't know it, but they're working for a demon, and the demon is just like a crime boss, and he's just using other Slayers to take out the other monsters that could potentially threaten him. He doesn't care about wiping them out. He just doesn't want competition.
I mean, that's
all right, guess we're
interesting.
done.
We've seen that set up in some movies. You know, the one that comes to mind off the top of my head is Equilibrium for some reason. The Christian Bale joint from pre-Batman Begins, where, you know, there's sort of this law and order peacekeeping force, you know, very action movie 1984. But it turns out that like the whole rationale for why they exist was just a propped up facade. And like, it was really just about this sort of lowly bureaucrat trying to seize power by fomenting the idea that like, no, people need to be put down and kept in their place. I think that there's a risk of that feeling very tired, because that is pretty tropey, but I think it's something we could build on for sure.
Yeah. You know, and it actually kind of goes with the end a little bit, because I don't know if I was trying to remember this, but because I was pretty sure I was right. At the end, she basically breaks the whole power out with her group of friends, and then a bunch of Slayers exist. So it would be and I would love the idea of the Watchers if we actually included the Watchers and they were literally demons who could hide in human form and were doing what you said. So they're this council of demons who is trying to like basically become all powerful. I love that idea, and they're the Watchers because they're the people who basically make Slayers, and you sort of keep it in there, but it's like a multiverse version of Buffy.
I was going to kind of ask the question because I don't know and I don't want to get too far afield. Like, what was the nature of vampires in Buffy? It almost seems like vampires became sort of a secondary thought to all this, you know, to demons and hell and all that.
Well, vampires were definitely there all the time, and you had to kill them constantly. They were just, you know, they're bloodthirsty, evil guys who want to eat people. It's almost like they're tigers, honestly, but they're also like, because of their nature, they get off on hurting people and stuff like that. So
yeah, but also, I literally just watched the Buffy pilots and stuff. They come because it was a world of demons that had come through the dimensional plane and they were camped out here, but our world wasn't hospitable to their energy, so more and more demons were kind of castigated back into the nether realm or whatever, past the other side of the hell mouth. And the people who could stay on the other side, a demon fed of somebody and imbued himself a little bit with somebody's essence from here, and that enabled a lot of them to stay. So they started biting each other and making a little community of the sort of demon that can stay full time here. That's what it seemed. That's what they kind of said in the pilot.
That's basically it.
My eyes are glazing over. I'm like, what? Okay.
This
is all. Thank you for telling me everything that I would love to toss out and start all over again.
But the whole point is, damn it, that the monsters have a reason for being here, and the town is in a hellmouth for that version of the story. Now, as I stated earlier, when I said Chosen One, you know I don't give a goddamn about a special blonde girl here, have the world. I hate that. It's disgusting. But it's our job to make that dramatic. So you're about 65% of the way to do it. Let's keep going.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the metaphor for the chosen one isn't a good thing for her to be chosen. This person doesn't get to live a regular life. This is a box that she's forced into. And that's the whole metaphor of anytime you feel like you're special, sometimes being special isn't as cool as you think it is. That's the basic metaphor. So we can roll with that by doing what Bill's basic idea was. Is like, sure, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for grooming people to do your bidding. Kind of thing.
Well, that's why I was almost, I mean, when I said that, I was almost thinking that, like, what if the Watchers and the Slayers and the history of vampires is all fake to a certain extent? Like, what if the big bad is Giles? You know what I mean? Like, what if the big bad is the guy who's trying to turn her into a Slayer, not because he's allied with some other, you know, major cosmic force, but maybe he is maybe just like, I don't know what it could be, but I'm just trying to think, like, to Billy's point, what if we strip like the secret societies and the deep history and like all this stuff out? You know, are we doing another Twilight where it runs the risk of not being Buffy if we do that? I don't know. It's like, I'm trying to get to that.
But does it have to be Buffy? Can it just, like, I think a reboot of something can also be kind of a quasi spinoff. Like, can it just be about Slayers in general? Like, it's still within this world, essentially.
Yeah, I think it could. I think we could choose a specific Slayer. It could be anything else. We could make up a name. It could just be called the Vampire Slayer. It doesn't matter.
Or just call it Slayers and move forward,
yeah.
You know?
I mean,
or if Buffy is long dead and she's a legend, or if it's Buffy's kid, or if this is maybe a completely different Buffy, or she changes her name to Buffy at the end. Who cares?
Well, let's talk for a second about format, because, you know, this is going to be a Zack Snyder joint, so this is going to be big budget, and it's definitely not going to be a series. But we could always pitch him the idea of, you know, a limited series, a whole. With Army of the Dead, he seems to be very into the idea of doing, you know, a multimedia series from the jump, where you're lore building even at the expense of telling a story. You know, do we have any thoughts about what this should be? Disney Plus, theatrical, Hulu? You know, there's a lot of options here.
I don't think the Plus is going to take. I mean, I think this is with Zack Snyder. It's going to be darker.
Yeah.
It's going to be
I
more
think of that.
intense and violent. I think it's got to be Hulu. And I say, screw it. Look, Hulu in 2020 had the best movie I saw all year, which was Palm Springs. So let's give them another big budget, prestige, knowing Zack Snyder 3-hour movie.
Or like a 5-hour movie that gets cut into 3 episodes or something, you know. I would tend to agree with that. Like, I don't know how to think about a series in Zack Snyder terms, whatever that might mean. I don't know, unless Ed or Ron, you guys feel different.
That absolutely makes sense. It's it's a big operatic situation. Yes.
Yeah, 100% agree. I also think that it makes it easier for us to cut out some of the lore, because if we're doing a movie, we don't need to have insane amounts of lore. We can have tidbits that literally just point towards it a little bit and don't obsess over it, because it's really a story about a person being trapped and getting free from that trap. I mean,
exactamundo. So, and I'd like to just note in the text, again, I did my research. In the text, Angel is 200 years old, just like the stupid Twilight vampire. So it's got the same problem. He comes sniffing around a 16-year-old when he's 200 and something. And Joss put something in the script where it's like, well, vampires can't emotionally grow. So basically, they're the same age. Oh, boy, you can lore building groomers. It sucks. That sucks. But if that's the Watcher, it's the same. The Watcher can have this weird quasi whatever relationship with this young person, grooming them up to do this specific task, take out his enemies, yada yada yada. We could even have that jazz of him being kind of old, like, you know, the Watchers in the original Buffy movie seem like they could be 1 billion years old or something. You know what I mean? It seems like they could have, you know.
Or I actually have an interesting idea. I think we could make it where they're immortals who don't age beyond like 18, 19, and they send in somebody into the high school to start grooming this person to be a slayer and getting her the powers and everything, so that they can use her. And being young is the trick. They're not actually young. They're old creepers, and they basically trick them into that stuff. I don't know.
There's also part of me that's like, look, we know who we're working for. Do we play to his strengths and almost work backwards from there? It's like, what does Zack Snyder do really, really well? And because it's like, if we make this really great intrapersonal story about a girl and her mentor and how sideways that gets, I just, you know, with all due respect to Zack Snyder, I just don't think that that's his wheelhouse. I think he is more of like, what is the 300 version of Slayers? You know, like, I kind of almost think like, you know, let's work with what we've got in that sense.
Well, let's be real. It's a world overrun by vampires. If you're going to ask what's the 300 version, what's the Army of the Dead version, even to a certain extent, like what's the DCEU version, it's a world where like the vampire apocalypse has happened.
Well,
Buffy is the one with the stones to like end it or something.
End it or gather up some people to help her to end it, you know.
Well, can
so
I
we
tell
can
you
get a little bit of that team jazz.
I've had an idea in my head for a really long time for a vampire idea. I was probably going to do it in my novel, so I probably shouldn't say it here, but I'm going to do it anyways, which is I think it's an interesting idea where basically the idea is that the vampires have been writing Twilight and writing all the Anne Rice and all the stuff where the vampires are like romantic hot people who so that people weren't afraid of vampires, so that they could come into the world and literally become part of the government, be part of the world and take over human beings, so they can basically make cattle out of us. And if there's a world where that happened and now there are slayers actually important to bring the world back into like not being slaves and or, you know, cattle. I don't know. It's just an idea. And I know it's not with what we're talking about, but it's the crazy idea that I had for a while. So
that vampire PR plot, you know, they're really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a smart person and you want to eat all the people and not have to work hard doing it, you take control over everything.
No, I mean, there's a certain logic to that. There's a certain, you know, Illuminati conspiracy theory to that. Instead of reptilians, it's vampires, which really is kind of the same thing.
And if you want to do the whole one good vampire thing, maybe it's a young one, so we're not a bunch of creepers about it.
I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to obsess on the age thing, because there's nothing to say that we need old people in this. I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of like, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but you know, what is the vampire's goal? What are the demons' goals? I think movies like this suffer from just, well, we're evil and so we want to kill everybody. I mean, even if you look at something like 300, right? 300 is really propelled by the fact that like the Spartans are conquering, and like they are very unnuanced, almost garishly campy villains, but the threat of like, we are going to swarm you and destroy your way of life and take your women, Zack Snyder, you know, it's a very visceral thing. And so I guess I would just like to get away from this idea of like, well, there's a hellmouth there, so of course it's bad, and they're demons, so they're just gonna do bad stuff. Like that just feels so toothless. I just want that to be different.
Yeah, you want bad guys with purpose, because purpose adds, you know, plot.
Well, it drives the story, right? And it gives the character something to react against. And I think with Buffy, it's almost like, I don't know if she needs to be in high school. I guess I'm just trying to think like, if you're a demon, if you're a vampire, like let's even take demons out of it, because I sort of feel like that is unnecessary in a weird way. Like if you're a vampire, you want humans to murder and you don't want to get caught in the sun. So it's like, you know, I don't know how relatable that motivation is, but like what could the plot be that maybe vampires maybe are more like wild animals, and being the slayer is sort of like mercy killing these people, you know? Maybe
I mean, if I'm a vampire, I kind of want to just probably at this point, I want to get away. I either want my own island where I can feed off of like animals or something, or find a way to get off this planet, because clearly with Blade and with, you know, all these different vampire hunters, they're coming for me. So I just want to live, you know? And I almost wonder if that's the stance you take, you know?
Make Buffy the villain of the story?
I don't like that at all.
But no. But that's what I'm talking about when I said at the very beginning, like, what if you do a wanted thing where it's just like, we immediately think that the slaying the vampires is the good thing, but it's like Buffy realizes that the ones that they're going after are really just, they're trying to get out of everybody's way. They don't want to be here.
I kind of like that. Look, Buffy was created to subvert a trope that has been fully and thoroughly subverted already in the modern world, right? Buffy essentially took the final girl and made her an action hero. And, you know, all respect to Ripley, that idea was pretty novel when Buffy took the world by storm in the mid-90s. I don't know that that's a novel idea right now. So clinging to that idea of like Buffy essentially needs to be the final girl turned action hero, she can be, but what I guess I'm saying is I think we need to add another layer of complication on top of that if that's the route we're going to go. Okay. Does anybody else, does that make sense?
No, totally. I think that's why Buffy feels maybe a little tired now, is because it's not original anymore. You know, like thankfully we've gotten to a point where there are other, you know, female heroines, but in 1997, 1992, whatever, it probably was still a very novel idea, as you said. I'm just trying to think, you know, like I know Captain Marvel kind of did the same thing where you think that the
oh man,
already
we're getting a call, baby.
All right, well, put it on.
He seemed cool.
Oh, Reboot Crew. How are you guys? It's good to see you again.
Hey, I was
Hey,
working
Zach.
through it, you know.
Hey,
What
hey.
to do.
Yep.
Well, listen, I got a few thoughts. Just a few things that I like to address when I make my movies. So, take it as you will, but just remember, if you're a hero, the only way that the audience knows you're a hero is if the entire world sucks. And I think Buffy has vampires, which is a great metaphor for how much the world sucks. And she can be an absolute beacon amongst the crappy world,
What?
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Everything sucks. I agree. Everything sucks.
So like Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Dawn of the Dead movies. Army of the Dead, which, was a huge hit that everybody loved. And I not to toot my own horn, but I just think, the world is full of sheep. And what we really need is a strong female to fight back against the murderers and rapists and horrible swarms of ugly, ugly trash people that are out there. And I mean, it's on a silver platter, guys. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong here?
I guess not.
I got nothing.
Great. So we're on the same page. And while you're at it, like, let's just also say, right, that Buffy needs to be turned into a vampire in this movie so that we really give her something to overcome. So we're going to turn her into a vampire, and then she's going to turn on all those vampires. I mean, guys, this stuff writes itself, okay? So listen, I'll call you back in a little bit. I'm sure you're going to do great with it. And, while you're at it, put dinosaurs in the movie. All right, goodbye.
Wait, what?
What?
What? What?
So now this is Blade
Jurassic
And-
Blade.
riding a
What was the dinosaurs
Tyrannosaurus
thing?
Rex.
What was the dinosaurs thing?
Look, you guys, look, we could just have them bite a not completely whatever dinosaur, and it becomes a Tyrannosaurus.
I'm not. If you dude, vampire dinosaurs.
I
Put a
actually
pin in
like
that because I
idea.
like that. Put a
I
pin
actually
in
think
that.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, dude, a pterodactyl that's a vampire. Ooh, I have
Yeah.
no idea what that has to do with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But let's
That's
talk about
awesome.
that movie.
But okay. This is to
Okay.
get to the crux of it. This is getting to the crux of it, though. Hold on. Why are we being so little when we have this big giant guy? Personally, I say we almost trying to change this into like a super thing with Buffy. And I understand Blade exists, but Blade exists by itself. Like Buffy being a beacon, I think what he might mean is, what if there's a world overrun by vampires? And one of the few beacons of hope is when the Slayer comes to town. The Slayer can come, slay up some stuff, help you to fortify your defenses and stuff, and become a new city that's okay in this world that is not okay. When the Slayer comes to town, she helps your whole town. And I don't know, like her being some
So it's like a-
Yojimbo.
Like a western almost.
Yeah,
Like
something like that.
the
She blows
Mandalorian. You know,
dude, she blows into town. She's got the skills, and if your populace isn't a bunch of punks, maybe some of you will bond with her and
Hey.
and get some of her magic and kick some ass and be good. You know, she's
And
like a
if-
traveling
and if-
hero.
And if you really want to answer the Zack Snyder idea, she's riding a vampire pterodactyl.
Well, I was just gonna. I mean, guys, everything that we're
That's
talking
rad
about.
to me. I don't care.
I'm ready.
Everything that we're talking about is essentially a post-apocalyptic Buffy, right? Like the world is overrun by monsters who can look like dinosaurs. The world is terrorized by the undead. You know, it's very much a lawless Western sort of like, once the sun goes down, bolt your doors with steel traps or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, it is kind of interesting if in the role of Clint Eastwood walking through the dusk lit center of town is this little teenage girl, and everybody's like, what? And it just turns out, she's a huge badass. Now, where that story goes, maybe we have to figure that out. But it's not a bad setup. It's, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Is she a vamp? So she is a vampire, according to Zack Snyder's notes.
Well,
I think she gets. I think we need to
turned.
have a teen where she gets turned. Yeah, and she has to like. That's another battle for her to fight. Is like fighting, turning on her people, all this kind of jazz. That's kind of interesting too. Like it's like a betrayal for her to get turned.
Well, okay, so it is kind of interesting if like, all right, so she's the Slayer. I mean, the movie could have flashbacks, and we know how Zach loves dream sequences anyway. But like, if we meet her and she's already the Slayer, and she's delivering Western justice on these tiny, on these ravaged towns. And it could, I mean, the vampires would then have a reason to target her specifically, right? It's like the vampires have achieved their goal of we want to turn the human race into cattle, but one of the cattle is a bull in our china shop. So we got to go put down that bull. And so they turn her, and then maybe it becomes like once she's turned, well, now we can induct you into our ranks. And now it's like, now you don't have a choice, right? Because you're going to live forever. You're part demon or whatever the mythology is. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to fight us forever? Are you going to kill all of us? Are you going to kill your own kind? Now you have to be part of us. But then I think that's the first half of the movie. Now it's like the second half of the movie is sort of how she turns the tables. Like, is there a MacGuffin? Is there something where she discovers like, we can cure, vampirism is curable. Vampires can be banished, setting her up to make the ultimate sacrifice, Superman in Batman in BVS style, something like that, as we get going here.
Okay.
And if she gets so she gets turned and then she gets pulled into like vampire ruling class, or, they try to break her like Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta, where it's like, now you're a vampire and we're going to show you that your loyalty should be to other vampires. And so we're going to put you through torture. God, Zack Snyder is going to love this. And within that,
I can also
she meets
tell you,
Angel.
Interesting. There's a lore in other vampire things where if you, in order to become a full vampire, you actually have to eat a person first in some lore. So maybe she has to constantly resist eating a person or she'll go full vampire.
No, Ron, let me jump on that for a second. I don't know if it's like a constant thing, because that would make her a little too Blade-ish. But what if she gets turned, and when you get bit by a vampire, you exist now in this weird limbo state, right? Where in order to go full vampire and make the transformation, you got to eat somebody. And if you don't, you're going to wither and die. And you're essentially infected. And to cure the infection or to advance the infection to full vampirism, you got to eat somebody. And so she ends up sort of hunger striking it. And the vampires are like, fine, let yourself die. We don't care, but we're offering you another way. Go full vampire. And so it's almost... I don't know, that could almost saddle her with some amount of guilt that she could then take into the rest of the movie, where it's like she didn't want to die, but now she's a full vampire and she has to sort of come to terms with what that means. I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
There's also a lot of lore when you kill the main vampire, it absolves you of being a vampire. It will literally burn the vampirism out of the people that he infected because you killed the main one that's like spreading the whatever. There's that get out of jail free card as well. So I'd say we should use that. Like, she has a period where she's got intense vampire feelings, and even to the point where maybe some human reveals himself to be a bad guy, and Buffy goes, "Thanks, bro," and jumps on him and gets a good whiff and becomes a super vampire and beats him ass at the end and wins. And then the vampirism is burned out of her, or her friends help to defeat the bad guy when she's like frenzied and she's weakened or whatever. Because the whole point is of her getting captured or her being weak for some section of the movie, she is a beacon. Listen to the words of the great Zach. She's a beacon. She brings hope to a post-apocalyptic world. If she is captured or put down and the movie's just over, right? No, because she's inspired people to rescue her ass when they wouldn't have otherwise or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that.
Brought hope to the town. You know what I'm saying? She's not just a singular slayer anymore by herself. She's invested, her spirit with these people, and they help her in the end. And then through that spirit of friendship, they win.
Well, and Bill, one of the things you mentioned was that a lot of people thought that the most important part about Buffy was the side characters and how important they were, because they were the things that anchored Buffy to want to do good and keep going when things were not fun and not happy.
Also just brass tacks. Somebody's got to be there to marvel at Indiana Jones's whip skills or John Wick's killing skills. Somebody's got to be non-super to look at the super person so the audience can acknowledge it.
Well, I think from a structural standpoint, it makes a lot of sense that like if their ordinary world is a world where the vampires have ravaged the land and have taken over, which also, by the way, gives us a great opportunity for a 5-minute Zack Snyder music video montage at the beginning of the movie for how the vampires took over. Yeah. But if the ordinary world is the vampire apocalypse and Buffy is a badass, a great first act turn, right, to actually set the movie in motion is Buffy gets bit by a vampire. And then that's how we get the supporting cast into the movie, is they're the ones who go on a suicide mission to rescue Buffy. None of this has anything to do with being a teenager, which
I had an idea, and maybe this is a little bit too much of like, I don't know if this might make it a little bit lighter, but follow me here. There's the one reason why I really love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, that I kind of feel like is lost a little bit in the series, is I like the snobby cheerleader that all of a sudden now has to kind of like jump into this new world. So what if we are in this post-apocalyptic world and Buffy's this, the gunslinger essentially. And she's going to town and she gets bit and she goes through a hellmouth. And I know this is not how they work, but mumbo gumbo, I don't care. She goes through a hellmouth and pulls herself out from either a different universe or back from time when she's a cheerleader or younger in high school, and brings her to the post-apocalypse. Is like, I'm going to die real soon. And I am the only person I trust. You basically, she's her own mentor. She's like, you're going to have to take over for me, 'cause I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Okay. I think you can do that without doing the time travel shenanigans.
Okay.
Where we make a movie called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so we've been talking about the Act 1 turn. Buffy gets bit, and then it's sort of this race against time. What if Buffy gets bit at the Act 1 turn and is dead by the midpoint? And in that short amount of movie time, she essentially has to train her replacements. And maybe the prime person of whom is a 15-year-old girl. And so our Buffy is like a 28-year-old seasoned badass who's been kicking ass in the vampire apocalypse for 10 years. She comes to this little small town that's maybe even managed. It's almost like a Twilight-y town. Like it's managed to, because it's so remote, sort of maintain this bucolic existence. But now the vampires have found it and the vampires are coming for them. But thank God Buffy is here. And then end of Act 1, after she's sort of rallied the town and we see her do some amazing things, she gets bit. So now the town that is grateful comes to her rescue, drags her into a safe house somewhere, and she is about to die. And maybe there's even people offering like, bite me, complete the transformation, turn yourself into a vampire so you can live. And she's like, no, I won't do it. And she has to impart her skills or some knowledge that she has about how to go and take out the lead vampires on the people who rescued her. And the one that she chooses, Buffy's chosen one herself, is this 15-year-old girl who is, not what you need the Slayer to be. And now we're off to the races for like the next, in Zack Snyder terms, probably hour and a half of the movie, where now we've got a crew. And we've got a 15-year-old inexperienced Buffy who needs to come into her own, and they've been sent on a mission by dying Buffy after they've rescued her.
I like that.
Okay, good, because I really like that, actually, now that I've said it all. I'm waiting for Ed to poo-poo it, because he's got the beard.
He's got the comb. He's combing like a crazy person.
Look, I was
he's going to braid that thing in a minute.
No, I was thinking about it. I think it's a little extreme for it to be that early in the movie, but I do think I enjoy us getting to know Buffy and getting to think that she's going to make it out and then she gets the sacrifice, whatever, and the kid has had now enough time to get good or whatever. Because like, I just think the shorter you make the new kid's amount of time, the more people are going to hate this. Buffy had to, in order to be basically good enough to help towns and stuff. She's 28. She's probably killed 57,000 vampires, like, you know, up to this point. And to just, it's just like in Book of Eli, when there's a certain point where the hero sort of hands off the hero duties to like a 15-year-old chick, and it's like, she's gonna be dead in a week. It's
But
just
it's not-
it's strange super credulity.
That's
on a lot
why
of
I'm
levels.
saying though, like it's not like a passing of the torch. It's not like, okay, we're in a candlelit room and Buffy's dying and she's like, now it's you. You must be the Slayer. It's not that, right?
Well,
it's
if the
more
movie's
like,
doing that, what's the difference though? Is all I'm saying. Like, tell me what the difference. If the movie's doing that versus the character doing that. If the
I'm
movie
telling
gives
you.
the reins over to somebody 15, why is that better? At halfway
Because-
through the movie too?
because it's so first to me, I don't think it's I think it's 40 minutes into, let's be serious, a 3-hour movie, right? So 40 minutes into a 3-hour movie, you get that handoff. But the handoff is not like, now go out and slay vampires. The handoff is like, I have a special piece of information that you need to know. And if your town is going to survive, you have to do this very specific thing. It's a singular mission. This whole group of you, this motley crew that has saved me, this group of losers, this group that very much mimics like the weird melange from Buffy, the TV series, you have to go and do this one specific thing. And if you survive, it may save your town. I don't know what that is. But in doing that one thing, it's the girl who learns that she has these qualities that are going to allow her to become the Slayer. So it's almost like by the end of the movie, she's earned that status. And now we can fast forward a year or two in sequels, and now she's got all the kick-ass kung fu skills. But she doesn't need to start that way. I think the movie is about her earning the role through one crazy job, not just like, now you're going to go wander the plains to murder vampires. It's not that, is what I'm saying.
And it's and if you want to do it very Zack Snyder-y, you could do it because she's the one who has the determination and the drive to really make it happen.
Of course, she's always been special because every Zack Snyder hero has always been special, and they just didn't know it yet. It's just like that.
Alrighty.
Another call?
Again?
Okay. Let me
All
patch
right.
it.
Here we go.
Reboot Crew, good to see everybody. I hope you're all doing chill. You're all chill right now.
Oh, we do chill hard here. We do a lot of chill.
Well, listen, I've got some non-chill things to say. You know, I know you wouldn't expect this from me, the Zack Attack, your boy. And listen, I'm not going to say that I'm disturbed by your lack of vision and your absolute disrespect for your audience. I would never say anything so controversial. I don't say stuff like that because I'm a nice guy. But other people might say it. Other people might be saying it right now. And that's their business. You know, I won't say it. I'm a chill dude. But anyway, I thought you guys might need some chill help because I'm such a chill dude. And because I'm a helpful, nice guy, I've gone ahead and hired a consultant that I think you guys will work really well with.
We've never actually had an outside person working with us before. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing.
Yeah, we've actually actively avoided trying to bring other people onto the Reboot Crew before.
Well, as luck would have it, this is not a new person to the Reboot Crew. So let me go ahead and introduce your new consulting producer, Mr. John Peters.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Oh, you thought you were rid of me. You thought you were rid of me. Oh, you guys. It's so good to see you all again.
Hey, Zach, do you know our history with John Peters?
Oh, what do you mean? You guys have history? How was I supposed to know, you know? Yeah, how was he supposed to know?
Dude, this is a trap. Dudes, we've been trapped. This is an elaborate trap.
Hey,
Look,
you know
look,
what?
look, guys. We haven't sold anything. Let's just hear him out. We don't have any other options.
Yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, exactly. Not like anybody could have called that you weren't going to sell anything, huh? You big dumb idiots. Listen, I am happy to be here and working on a property that so fits my sensibilities. You know, I know that Zach has already given you genius, brilliant notes. We want this to be about a girl who gets turned into a vampire fighting a society full of evil, awful vampires to prove that she is the best amongst them, and dinosaurs, which always make a movie better. I am just going to start by saying, in addition to the dinosaurs, I want robots. I want entire armies of robots, because you know what you could do with robots? You could destroy them in ways you could never destroy a human. I'm talking electrocution. I'm talking blowing up and seeing parts flying everywhere. I just want to be real clear. We're going to do that with human bodies because I love the blood splatters. I love the blood splatters. All right. Hey, listen, as long as we're blowing up robots, I'm happy. So, guys, think about this. Vampires, dinosaurs, robots in one movie. You've never seen it before. Also, I need Olivia Rodrigo in this movie because she's hot right now. And frankly, well, I shouldn't say more.
Okay.
So we should just stop. We should just stop.
Actually, guys, I mean, there's a robot in the first season of Buffy. It's a demon infests a robot. It's not a big deal. We can do that.
I mean, this is Mumbo Gumbo the movie. Like, this is literally everything that's on the brand new T-shirt that you can buy on TeePublic, the Mumbo Gumbo T-shirt. I don't know what to do with this, to be quite honest with you.
John,
good.
Do you really think this movie should have robots in it as well as dinosaurs and vampires?
Yeah, I do. And if you got a problem with it, maybe there's no movie to be made. How do you feel about that?
Not great.
Okay. Yeah, we can work it in.
Okay.
Figure it out.
All right. So, sure. Is there anything else, John? Is there anything else?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think maybe just one more thing. In addition to the robots and the Olivia Rodrigo, I want this movie to have epic scale and scope, which means I want this movie to be shot on location in Romania, where I get incredible tax credits and have a few good friends who maybe are into some extra legal dealings. But anyway, that's it. That's it from me, gentlemen. It's easy. Set it in Romania, or at least make it so we can shoot it in Romania. Cast hot new teen sensation Olivia Rodrigo. And in addition to a vampire society and dinosaurs, give me robots to blow up. This movie sounds like $1 billion blockbuster already. Frankly, I wasn't excited coming in, but right now I am jazzed. So get to work, and as you know, you'll hear from me in a little bit. All right. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Okay,
All
guys. Look, this has just turned into a movie that Ron Swallow would watch. Honestly, let's just be real. Vampires,
It's the Ron
robots,
Swallow special.
dinosaurs.
I'm just going to say it. Olivia Rodrigo as this girl who picks up the mantle from our kick-ass Buffy is great. Like we have already sort of set down a template where she slots into this movie really, really well.
That's not, I think, what I'm bumping up against. Sure, fine. That's one less casting I have to Google real fast. I think how dystopian is this future? That's why I said, like, could you pull Buffy from a different universe or time? Because it's like, at this point, it seems utterly ridiculous that there's any sort of like peaceful city or peaceful town that still exists and any sort of normalcy. And I do kind of miss the fish out of water aspect of like plucking someone from a high school where everything is normal, putting into like this hell world.
Okay. Well, listen, you know what? I was trying to fit this into sort of a gritty Zack Snyder world, but maybe we also can incorporate the robots if somehow robots are the ones that allow her to jump back in time. I mean, I'm just trying to think of a other than like I fall into the hellmouth and the hellmouth belches me out, 15 years previous, and I can meet my 15-year-old self. I feel like just aesthetically, robots helping you time jump kind of works. So maybe it's even like she ends up in some old facility. I mean, dear God, do we cross this over with something? It's almost like she's at a decommissioned Skynet facility. This is like after the robot war ends in Terminator. Just aesthetically, doesn't have to be story-wise, but just aesthetically, like maybe this vampire apocalypse had a precursor that had to do with AI, and so she gets the AI back online, and that jumps her back through time.
I don't put the kibosh on things very often, but I'm putting a kibosh on this. No time travel. It's stupid, and I don't like it. It's already ridiculous what we're gonna do. This is
already ridiculous, Ron.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's keep it relatively simple now. Just think about Army of the Dead. They're going on a heist to get some money. They fight some zombies. That's the movie. Buffy's in a apocalyptic
and it's not
world.
Good. It's not good. That's the problem.
Be on the phone in 4 minutes.
This isn't the way to fight this idiocy. Okay, look. Yeah. There's a billion ways robots could be in here. Number one, people can't. One of the main ways you could go check something out, especially in a dystopian future, Amazon has dog robots that could do what you can do right now. So people using the robots to check out different places to make sure they're safe or different things like that. There's a lot of ways the robots can get blown up for this dumb old man. I don't want to be a slave to turning this into Terminator just to satisfy that part, when there's a billion ways that real human beings in the apocalypse could have to use robots, especially when the night is full of monsters. Jesus. And you could put bombs on them. You could put bombs on them and send them down into those rat holes with those punk vampires when they're sleeping. Put Fido, send his ass down there with some bombs. Boom! Stake to the heart, my ass. We blew you up.
Yeah, I actually like that idea.
There is also something interesting. Like, one of the things in terms of vampire tropes that we haven't seen is the idea of like, how do you use human science and technology to fight back against vampires?
Bombs put inside of robots. Steak bombs. They shoot out a bunch of steaks. Yeah. That's
and I'd also like to say, Billy said, how would there be a town that isn't overrun in this post-apocalyptic world? Maybe it's the town where robots are. Protecting the town.
Honestly okay. Wait a minute. So we're circling something here. So if like this is sort of the last bastion of human civilization, because this is where like the military engineers hold up, when the vampire apocalypse happened, which could also, by the way, be a great reason why they still have like nerds and school, because they realize like, the one way for us to fight back against this scourge is through science and knowledge. And so now there's a reason why you have kids who aren't like feral, wild children who know how to fight and scrap and all that. They are more cerebral and almost more normal, because they're living this existence that's sheltered by technology, where they're so reliant on technology, they realize the best thing they can do for their young people is to put them in school and teach them how to build robots and teach them how to use technology. And so it becomes like the kids who are being groomed to be your frontline grunts all get killed in this vampire attack. Thank God Buffy shows up because she can repel the forces of darkness. She gets bit. And now who's left to defend the town after the first onslaught? It's all the nerds and the losers and the weirdos who weren't your Starship Troopers. And so that gives us the setup we were talking about with robots.
Yeah. Billy, is that enough?
Sure.
Time
Look, Billy,
travel?
this is just
Sure.
going to be one of those situations where we have to do the best we can with what we got, right? So,
Yes, Ron, I'm aware. I'm just trying to untie kind of the knot. There's just so many disparate pieces that everything we've pitched so far feels like it satisfies like 2 out of 3, you know? Like there's always something that just seems not quite off. But let's keep going because it seems like we're close.
I had an idea for something that adds some sort of I don't know, human argument element. And it's something I'm pretty sure you guys hate because it involves magic. But I would think that if you're in this post-apocalyptic world where everything is insane, yes, you lean into science, but then you'd also know because there's vampires and because there's monsters that there is also magic. So there would be a group that is also involved in magic and maybe coming together to fuse technology and magic into one thing, along with, and it's Buffy's idea or something along those lines, is the thing that helps them win. I don't know, something like that. And
Ron,
they would be at odds at first.
Not to undercut that, Ron, but I'm trying to wrap my head like Billy. See if this works more for you, because I'm trying to like get to a place where we can all be jazzed. What if this isn't post-apocalyptic vampire hell? What if the vampire apocalypse is sort of in progress? And so there is still sort of a semblance of normal society, right? Where you can still have a normal teenage girl, but vampires are sort of like mutants in the Marvel universe. And like vampirism is this weird sort of rising phenomenon that the government is having a response to. And so we can still have our anti-vampire technology. We can still have, you know, all the stuff we talked about to be able to include robots and whatnot. But we haven't full turned into like vampire hellscape, but it feels like that cloud is hanging over everything. So then we can still have this same setup where there's a little remote town. They're still clinging on to like life is as normal as we can make it. But then Buffy shows up and it's almost like, oh my God, Buffy's here. Everything's going to go to crap. And so then everything that we've talked about still holds, that like Buffy gets killed and now the town is being overrun and it's down to like this group of teenage misfits. Maybe even, you know, I guess what that allows us to have is this idea of like there's still adults or parents holding on to the idea of like, this is not that big a deal. You kids are doing things wrong. You know, there's another way, right? Where it isn't just a straight up like, well, the vampires are coming to murder us, so we got to murder the vampires. I don't know. I'm just trying to add a little bit more grounded realism to it. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm having a really hard time wrapping my head around this one.
I mean, I'll speak for Billy for 1 second, because I think I agree. Having really tough Buffy train stupid Buffy is just cinema gold. Having some actress with dirt all over her face and like she's 30 and then she's capably able to play like 16, 17, 18, 20 even, and like pull her younger. There's something magic about that. And I'm missing those scenes. I'm like, I can see those scenes. That's all I'm saying. I can see with my eyes those scenes of her trying to get her stupid ass self to understand the gravity of the situation they find themselves in.
I think that's where
I'm in there.
I'm with you, Ed, and thank you, because I think you just voiced like I'm missing the human part of it, because to me what you just said is like, yes, because sometimes I get so mad thinking about how dumb younger me was, and you always say like, man, if I could go back and tell myself what I knew now, like,
I mean, look,
at least I can jump onto that,
I guess we'll roll with it. It sounds awful. It sounds awful to me. That just sounds awful. But if that's what we got to do, let's do it. I'm not gonna.
Why,
I'm not
Ron?
gonna get
Why do
away.
you? Why do you
It's
say that,
already time travel. Her younger self.
I'm saying get away from the time travel part of it. Just when I hear Ed say that, I don't necessarily think it has to be like she's coming face to face with her younger self, but coming face to face with a version of who she was. And I think by setting this in a world that isn't so, you know what I mean? If the world isn't so post-apocalyptic, if there's still room for normal society to exist, then you have the grizzled 35-year-old dirt on her face Buffy who's been slaying vampires for 20 years, and everybody thinks she's crazy because nobody thinks the vampire apocalypse is happening. Again, mutants in the Marvel universe type thing. And she comes face to face with a 15-year-old girl who, is everything that Christy Swanson was in the original Buffy, right? Like, cheerleading is the most important thing. I need to make homecoming queen. I don't know what you're talking about. And then you get the pathos of our 35-year-old Buffy being able to be like, let me tell you about how I grew up. I thought all those same things until my whole family was slaughtered, until I went through real life. And maybe then our teenage heroine's journey is about reconciling, like, she doesn't need to become an over-the-top zealotous weirdo like the Buffy she meets at the beginning. Like, she needs to find a third rail solution. Like, the one rail solution is not to stick your head in the sand, maybe like all the adults around her are doing, right? This part of this is about like, no, the vampire apocalypse is not really happening. Buffy shows up, the vampire apocalypse is happening. You need to gear up and go, Sarah Connor on their asses. And our Buffy needs to come up with like, no, the most important thing is preserving life as we know it and want it, and not, you know what I mean? It's like not buying into the post-apocalypse of it all. Does that track?
Well, that it doesn't have to get all the way to an apocalypse. Like, it's her last ditch effort with her life to like prevent an apocalypse from happening that is impending. I could kind of see that. Yeah.
Sorry guys, I feel like I'm trying here. I don't know what I'm missing.
No, that was great.
Unless
I really like.
No. I'm sorry. I have a speech impediment. I am really excited about stopping the apocalypse rather than capitulating to it necessarily, especially if it gets to preserve what me and Billy see as great scenes of wake up, idiot, young person, wake up, get with the program. I love that. I do.
And look, I think we can also slip in a little bit of what we like, which is getting the group together to solve a problem, coming up with a real solution.
And this whole thing makes Buffy the watcher guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It makes her the person who is like, this is very important. And for the first time in Buffy history, that person doesn't just sit on the sidelines. That person invests themselves and fights and loses and must have their cause taken up by somebody. That's subverting and yet respecting the Buffy lore. It's kind of what we do.
Here's another two things, right? Number one, this Buffy's mistake, the old Buffy's mistake, is not having a team around her. And so that third rail solution that I was talking about is like, rather than becoming the lone psycho who's out to change the world by yourself, the real thing you got to do is build your alliances. And I think within that, the one person that we give old Buffy as sort of a crutch is Giles. And Giles is sort of old Buffy's Whistler. And so now you've got new Buffy and you have a Giles there. And when I say Whistler, I mean Blade's Chris Christopherson supporting character, right? Yep. So now old Buffy dies. You've got new Buffy who's like, she's essentially been indoctrinated into the world by old Buffy. The vampires are coming. The apocalypse is going to happen. You have to stop it. You've got Giles telling her, come with me. I will train you to be the Slayer. I will train you to be everything she was. And new Buffy is like, wait a minute. Maybe I don't want to go off with this zealotous weirdo to live in the woods and abandon my entire life. I've got friends. I've got whatever. And so you set up this antagonistic force from Giles where it's like, no, you don't have friends anymore. You now have a mission. And we can then add in the thing we were talking about an hour ago at the beginning of the episode, that Giles is corrupted himself. Giles is maybe an agent of the vampires. He's their man on the inside. And she, our new Buffy, ferrets that out, uses her team to, extract some information from Giles, essentially ferret out that he's a rat, and subvert the apocalypse in her own way.
I like that. That's
tracks.
flowing with me.
Yep, that tracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
all tracking.
That's actually what I was going to say, was that I think it's important because we talked about it. The big difference is the team. And so basically she'd be talking, I think Buffy would also be trying to push what the Watcher, the Giles part is pushing. And then our new Buffy is literally saying, when she says, like, you can't keep your friends involved with this, your friends could get killed. And then she could say, but that's their choice, and they will help me get this done. I mean, that's just a really good, and it's also a cool comparison to, the way people are doing things now is all like by yourself, individualism, do it yourself type of thing. And the younger group of people nowadays working together to make things better. I just love that idea.
I agree. I mean, I think we're onto something with this. So let's maybe start talking cast, which maybe will help us sort of solidify some of the storylines when we start putting faces to ideas. I guess if we're going to build off Olivia Rodrigo being sort of our young Buffy, I think the immediate questions are, do we have any ideas for older Buffy? And do we have any ideas for the Giles Watcher character? Do we have any ideas for vampire antagonists? Thoughts on any of that?
I think Giles needs to have some real Rutger Hauer energy, and I know it might get confused in people's heads because Rutger Hauer was in the original Buffy movie, but just put that on the side. Rutger Hauer, circa Blade Runner type, just like a wild man energy. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that, like, reserved, I got my glasses and my tea crumpet crap. That's not scary, and that's not how you would be if you understood that hell was real and vampires were all over the place. You wouldn't be sipping tea. You'd be freaked out. You know what I mean? I want some weird manic energy to that guy.
Crispin Glover.
Honestly,
I would not believe it. I would not follow him into the woods for $1 million. No way, not happening.
Or even homeboy that starred in Don't Breathe, Stephen Lang.
Oh,
somebody like that. Somebody
Stephen
like
Lang is
that.
great. I do have to ask though. Maybe part of my hang up with this whole thing is like, yeah, who is or just quote unquote vampires, the bad guy? Like, we don't have any sort of like we know that this Giles, whatever character, eventually kind of goes to but who's our bad guy? Like, we have no antagonist this whole time, just other than, just like this is happening. Like, we need someone to center this around.
Can we have a female vampire leader who then could even tempt our new Buffy in another way, where it's like, you don't want to be her, you could be me. Old Buffy, was this weird recluse who ran from town to town, fighting a losing war. I am Queen of the Damned, who gets whatever I want, is immortal, unaging, and beautiful. Wouldn't you want to be me? Wouldn't you want to join us? Come be me. Like, that could be a really juicy character in this story.
Well, can I say something that'll get us super hated, like hated to death? And I was about to say it earlier. Why isn't, I watched a couple of last seasons of Buffy. Why isn't Willow the villain? Honestly, why isn't one of Buffy's oldest friends from the previous adventures? And maybe we don't have to say that, all that jazz. But Willow had magic. Willow was addicted to using her magic. And in the way that we have made this universe, her being addicted to magic and flooding our world with vampires all of a sudden could, it used to be a manageable thing. Questy Swanson or whoever could go out in the woods and stab, and it was manageable. Now there's droves and herds coming over the mountains and eating little towns and stuff like that. It's way worse now. Why? Why is that? Maybe because Homegirl's doing a little sim salabim and she opened up a hell mouth, and her and Giles are just like, yeah, screw it.
It could help if our main villain is one of Buffy's only or oldest and only friends, because then that would give a reason why Buffy would not want to work with anybody anymore. And you kind of have to break past that. Like, some people are going to take advantage of you, but that doesn't mean that everybody is inherently bad, and you do still need to work with people, you know?
Yeah,
I also think
Willow
that-
went pretty dark. She like flayed a person's skin off of them. So I mean, that tracks.
I also love the idea that if she is just a witch and has sort of this hell power, then within her, court, wherever within her ruling space, very simple to have her have dinosaur style creatures that she's just summoned from the pits of hell, because that's what she does. So we check dinosaurs off the list, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're go ahead, Ron.
No, I was just gonna say that it's just good because then we do have a bad guy with at least a little bit of a. She was tired of being weak and taken advantage of, and she decided that's it. I'm not being weak anymore, and it overwhelmed her. I mean, that's
well.
Great.
I think that's great because the vampires can then sort of become these insidious foot soldiers for her. But she herself has a different agenda, which is really just more about like. It's actually a weird take on female empowerment, right? It's like, I can be this powerful and no one is, it's no one's place to stop me. Why should I be less than what I'm able to be? Again, very Zack Snyder, which is sort of an interesting, I just love the idea that the villainess is sort of tempting new Buffy as well. Like, look at what could be yours if you didn't buy into all this BS. I think that's always great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like one by one, Buffy's psychosis and not being able to deal with the way the world is. The world's got vampires in it. Deal with it, kid. Buffy's relentless, not wanting to deal with that, got all of her friends killed until I was like, you know what? Not your girl. I'm not getting killed on her stupid crusade. So I started doing my little thing, and I figured out these dudes are pretty cool. This is okay as long as so she got turned. She got turned to the dark side.
Yeah, and I think she starts you don't even really need to see her until halfway through the movie. She's just sort of this ominous force. And maybe that's the thing that like old Buffy imparts after the kids, save her and then can't help her and she dies or whatever it is. It's like she has to tell them like behind all this is one person and she's actually she was my friend. And yeah, it's a little bit like that scene in Mask of Zorro where it comes out like, no, she's my daughter. And like the whole actual hidden backstory is sort of revealed to Antonio Banderas. That could be a good scene. If we're keeping older Buffy alive so we can get the training montages that Ed is talking about, like having that scene where she admits why she doesn't trust anybody. It's because the one person I trusted is now going to destroy the earth. I think that's
and then
all
if
really
Giles,
good.
if Giles, you're probably about to say the same thing. If Giles betrays her too, now it's the two people she ever trusted, and she has nothing left, and it's tragic. And then these kids coming together are the real people she can trust.
And last things last, because of the fact, it will give the movie some sort of finality if, in the end, new Buffy, with a combination of skills earned from old Buffy and her own plucky ingenuity, is able to do the last task that Buffy couldn't do, maybe wouldn't even have the heart to do. When it came down to it, could Buffy have actually killed Willow? Probably not. But through our story's machinations, she's built a machine, a thinking machine that can do it and will actually affect change that she couldn't do just stabbing people in the woods. She can go directly to the source, and this messing up Willow helps the world with vampires. Maybe it doesn't kill them all, but it seals it behind something. You know what I mean? That whole.
And there's a way to do this where we set it up where it looks like our new Buffy is going to go and actually choose the dark side. Maybe her friends have been kidnapped and are being tortured or whatever, and that's how she gets to Willow in the first place. Normally, you could even get to her, but now Willow, because you said that she's offering. You can be like me. And then
I think you do opposite. We have a supporting cast member that's been basically her Willow the whole time. and that's the one that you try to tempt.
Pretend.
Nice.
So that
Love
way you see
That's
that it
even
could have
better.
gone differently.
Yes. Yes.
That's a nice rebuke of Willow too, where it's like, no, this was a choice you made. This wasn't some inevitable thing that was always going to happen. You are a bad person, Love that. All right, so it sounds to me like we need older Buffy. Let's go ahead, Ron.
No, I was just gonna say, one of the things that people have complained a lot, and I don't know if this is a proper thing to bring up, and it's railroading us if I do, so I apologize. But one of the things that people were real annoyed about with Willow and Tara is what they call homosexual erasure, basically, because Tara gets killed, and then if we also kill the other lesbian in the show, I
get what you're saying, but also like for all intents and purposes, I mean, no, it's important that you do. I just feel like for all intents and purposes, like whatever the mythology of that show is, like we're not really like, this isn't a continuation. This isn't even like, the same character necessarily. Like this is its own thing. So that's, we're not trying to do that.
I got a solution. Ron, I've got a solution anyway. New Buffy, played by Olivia Rodrigo, just is gay. And her friend, who's being tempted by Willow, is essentially her girlfriend or someone she has an unrequited crush on, or some, it's sort of a will they, won't they? So that we can actually get like a gay kiss at the climax of this movie between Buffy and her girlfriend, and neither one of them is getting killed. And in fact, her gay girlfriend is the one that is like rebuking Willow, like, no, I don't want to be like you. I just want to be with Buffy and I want to have a normal life.
Which is almost kind of like a wink rebuke at what they did in the series,
Well, that's what your boy Zach, that's what your boy Zach would love to do, is just make sure that he one-ups Joss.
Yep.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. All right. So we've got, and by the way, I love that as like a relationship dynamic. We've got younger Buffy, we've got her girlfriend, we've got older Buffy, we've got Giles, we've got evil Willow. And maybe we need, some sort of vampire. Maybe we need Angel, frankly. Maybe we need old Buffy's ex-love interest is just sort of the heavy, like the heavy's right-hand man.
The muscle.
Like the muscle, yeah.
Well, I think we need to find out how Angel got murdered or something, because I really hate Angel.
Okay, so Angel got murdered. Ed, I'm going to stop you. Angel got murdered by whoever the muscle is. So we got to cast the scariest, most awful vampire to be the guy who murdered Angel off screen sometime before the movie started, which was like the last thing to turn Buffy into this horrible, zealot in the woods.
It could be Spike.
I don't know Spike's whole thing. I don't know what his deal is.
I also look.
It would just be a wink at people, because a lot of people like to think Spike. Yeah.
That's what I would say, because it's just like, I also, like I said, like, I don't want to wade too deep into what they did in the show. I know we're using Willow and we're using it in a very different capacity, but like, then we have to like, all right, where's the Seth Green character and where's this character and that?
Where's Xander to come up in a big blue car?
Right.
Hey, gals, when I get in my car. Yeah.
No, it's very much the thing where like, Billy, you've talked about this before with other franchises, where if you've seen the previous version, you'll get something more out of this, but everything you need to know about the story we're telling exists in this movie. So it's not like, oh, we're trying to make a real continuation of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's more just like, if you know old Buffy, you'll appreciate something more. But for all intents and purposes, the Buffy, Giles, and Willow that exist in this movie only exist in this movie. Their backstory, or what you need to know of their backstory, is in this movie, and you don't really need to know anything else. Cool?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk cast. I love the idea.
Play Willow. I would like to start there, because then we can find out how, match her up with the Buffy character, right?
I feel like Emily Blunt is either older Buffy or Willow. And we haven't really seen her play evil often, which could be interesting. but maybe also a swear jar choice.
How old are we looking for a role like this?
I think it could be anywhere between like 30 and 45, frankly, 30 and 50 even. I mean, it could be anywhere in there. So it's really more about who we think would bring something to the role. Also, you guys in the chat, I know you've all been popping off just aghast at what we've been doing to your beloved Buffy, but we're down this road and we're going down this road. So cast with us. If you have cast ideas, we need older Buffy, older Willow, Giles. We need younger Buffy's girlfriend. We need a muscle. And maybe we need a younger male character to be part of the friend group with Buffy and her girlfriend. But anything you want to throw at us, throw at us. We'll throw it up there if we like your ideas. Renegade Hero over there saying, I still nominate Jessica Chastain for Willow. Keeping her a redhead, that's interesting. Jessica Chastain playing a similar character-ish in my mind in X-Men Dark Phoenix makes me want to go a different direction because that was not inspired.
Well, how old? One thing I'd like to just interject. I don't know how old. Again, I don't want to make this just young people palooza, but like I think it's like a Starship Trooper situation where the old people could be in their 20s because like 15, they're between 15 to 25 or 30 is vast. You know what I mean? Especially in their eyes. They can see somebody that's 28 years old and be like, look at that hag. Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
I don't know why this. Oh, go ahead, Ron. You go first.
Naomi Watts. She's already trained in martial arts. So whatever stunt team we hire, she'll be able to look good and we'll be able to get better shots because she's trained. And also I think she's a pretty solid actress.
I have a really off the wall one.
Hold that thought for a second, Billy.
Yeah.
I just want to clear something up. So Ronnie B. Good over in the chat says, doesn't older Buffy need to look like Olivia Rodrigo? We have been saying older Buffy and younger Buffy as a shorthand. They are not the same person. There is not a time loop in the movie as we're discussing it right now. It's more just that our young heroine is sort of a reflection of what older Buffy was when she was a teenager. I would
also argue that she takes the name Buffy at the end to continue the legacy.
I would.
Yeah, what's your name on Tatooine? Buffy.
Hey man, you gotta think of bigger franchise. We need sequels with Buffy and Buffy's dead.
Trust me, I agree. I was aghast when we were gonna call just Slayers. We got to talk about that too. But anyway,
for Willow, this is kind of a random one, but I thought maybe Toni Collette. She has like this sense of like that she really, I don't know. I just buy that she's been around for a while, but she's smart, she's powerful, charming. But I also think she could sink her teeth into like a villain role.
Dude. First of all, Toni Collette.
I'm down.
One of our greatest actresses. But if Toni Collette plays this Willow villain, like the third act of what was that A24 movie she was in?
Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Oh yeah.
Good Lord. I mean, I want to see an action movie where that is the villain. That sounds amazing. That does then necessitate that our Buffy is also a woman of a certain age.
I kind of saw it as older. I think there's also something inherent about you always thinking that when older people give you advice that they don't know what they're talking about because you're old and so like there's more of a brush up for me personally is like, what do you know? The world was so different when you know, and then you become an adult and you're like, oh, my parents actually had pretty good advice. I was just being a jackass,
100%. Ed, I know that you're probably you were pushing for younger because you like the idea of having 10-year older Buffy.
Well, no, I don't really care. I think there's a bunch of women in the age group that, I mean, I'll throw out a crazy one. Alicia Silverstone.
Hell yeah,
is like 46 right now. Looks super great. Has a youthful vitality. Can play this sort of halfway camp, but camp in a hellified world. I think she'd be just fine.
But she also looks, like Alicia Silverstone, especially when you think about younger, like 90s Alicia Silverstone. I believe at one point she was a cheerleader and was snobby and snooty and then now was like this grizzled thing. I think that's brilliant. She could baby bird me any day. I love Alicia Silverstone.
I'm gonna pop over to the chat. Renegade Hero suggests Elizabeth Shue as our older Buffy, which I kind of love a lot.
That's an interesting choice.
Hey, I'm kind of a shoe aficionado, and I think that's. I think Maria Bello is another one that has like just a shoe Bello, that sort of genre of person. I love that stuff.
I actually really like Elizabeth Shue now that I've like looking at a recent picture. I'm like, again, exactly like Alicia Silverstone. I could totally see coming from cheerleader background to grizzled fighter.
100%. The other one that I would throw in there is, oh man, I don't know why her name is escaping me. She was the woman in Hateful Eight.
Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yes. So Jennifer Jason Leigh plays a similar role to what we're talking about in the movie Annihilation, where she's sort of like this grizzled, keeping secrets type of older soldier. And I think she could play Buffy. She would probably play a less intense, like drill sergeant version of Buffy. She'd play more of like shell-shocked, not quite all there Buffy, but it could be kind of awesome.
Oh yeah, and this is all mixed up now, but I think Giles comes into the story after Buffy is gone. I don't think Buffy and Giles come into towns. I think Giles is out doing his things, reading books or whatever. Buffy comes to town, shows herself to be superhuman in her own right, her own dopeness. And once she is gone or incapacitated and can't speak anymore or whatever, she's out of the picture, then homeboy comes trotting up, talk about, well, I'm Buffy's friend. I taught Buffy everything she knows. And it's just like, that's, you know what I mean? I like that flavor of it.
So Michael Keaton.
I still love Stephen Lang in that role.
I think Stephen Lang does that. I don't, not just because I came up with it, but Stephen Lang is like very charming and very powerful. Right. But you could also play it unhinged.
I don't have a better suggestion than that.
No, he needs a role like that. Like that guy is great, and I'd love to see him in that role. So, all right, older Buffy, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Elizabeth Shue. Maybe Alicia Silverstone, but I'm leaning toward either Shue or Lee.
I really like Elizabeth Shue, man. That's my
I
vote.
do too, actually. I think Elizabeth Shue as our older Buffy, Stephen Lang as our older Giles, Toni Collette. God, I love that so much. Toni Collette as the heavy in a movie like this, as our maniac Willow. Olivia Rodrigo is who's taking on the mantle of Buffy. Who's Olivia Rodrigo's girlfriend in this? Who's that second sort of core supporting character?
I know the chat, someone suggested Maya Hawke. I think it was Patrick.
Oh, that's literally what I was about to suggest.
How do you spell their last name? I'm gonna look them up.
Maya Hawke, it's Uma Thurman's daughter. She was in Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a pretty good choice.
Part of me wants to go like this movie is very white except for Rodrigo, and Rodrigo is very white passing. So yeah. I would really love to get somebody of color in a couple places that aren't the heavy or a doorstop.
I would agree with that. I think, and I also think there's an interesting dichotomy to like, it's sort of a wink and a nod to something Joss Whedon did wrong, right? Like the older generation, whether they're good or evil, are all white, suburban-looking people, and the younger generation are all not. That could be kind of an interesting, soft rebuke of one of Buffy's weaknesses.
Totally.
So if and also and I want to, God help me, I don't want to say anything untoward, but I don't think Buffy's girlfriend has to be super femme either. She can be of color and not super femme and have it just be fine. You know what I mean?
Agreed with that. I mean, I think it'd be great to have an actual gay actress in the role. That'd be kind of interesting. So a gay actress of color who can play 16 or 17 is a very specific ask. I don't know if I can come up with something off the top of my head.
I am not a casting director, so.
But yeah, well, just the fact, I think that'll be a good opportunity for someone new instead of capitulating to Hollywood's crap system of throwing the same people against the wall. This will be a breakout role for somebody. So yeah, non-white, non-femme lesbian love interest for Rodrigo, and I guess her major characteristic would be just sort of a steely resilience and an ability to resist the magics and all the crap, so that, as we said earlier, she can show that Willow did make a choice and she made the wrong one, and this character refuses to. I love that. It's like we don't have to paint every damn leaf on this tree. So all right, so that being the case, I love Elizabeth Shue. I'm seeing her on the poster in my head.
Me too. I've got a ridiculous idea for the thug.
Sure, the muscle.
It's the mountain. Doesn't say anything. He's just a giant, scary person who punches people through like walls and mountains and shit, and just tears robots' heads off. He's just an insanely giant, scary beast.
I'd also
it's
like
a little too underworld, probably.
I'd like to put forth Tate Fletcher. Tate Fletcher gets killed in John Wick movies every time. He's got some twisty mustachios. He played the guy who's trying to bully Mando. He tried to bully Mando in the first episode and got murdered, killed. That guy has a little bit of acting chops. He's very tough. He can actually very much fight. I think he's a professional fighter.
Well, I will say too, knowing Zach, because he just made him the star of his last movie, he might want Dave Bautista for a role like that.
I was gonna say if we can go to the bench of like Zack Snyder loves to cast, his Rolodex in these movies, so that could be an interesting one.
Cool.
Well, actually, one thought I had, just going back, we know Zack Snyder loves him as a villain, and it could be sort of an interesting aesthetic choice, is Rodrigo Santoro, who played Xerxes in the original 300. If you sort of bring that whole aesthetic and vibe to the muscle in this movie, could be an interesting way to Snyder it up, as opposed to just making like, who's the beefiest guy we could get to be a vampire?
Yeah, he's got an otherworldly quality that was used very well in 300. And I also kind of like the vampires being older than time, and maybe, shocker of all shockers, older than white people. like this vampire lordship is older than everything.
Yes to all that, Ed. I also have to say, Suze Vera coming through strong in the comments. Amandla Stenberg, who is a young teenage actress of color who is, I think, bi. She's queer. She's either bi, queer, or gay. I don't know how she identifies, but she is a home run as Buffy's girlfriend.
She is. That's a murder, death, kill.
Should we stick Ray Fisher in this just to really twist the nail to Joss Whedon? Just give him he can play himself. I don't care.
That is even better than Rodrigo Santoro's. Yes. Ray Fisher.
I mean, he's also just a good actor too.
Well, I think Ray could play part of the group that is pulled to the side of like, this is real, get your crap together. And he's sort of a semi-adult. You know what I mean? There's always some semi-adult around. You know what I mean? So I think he could play that role of like, hey, what are you kids doing? Oh, hell, you're in a vampire adventure with some old man who's trying to groom you. What's going? You know what I mean?
Okay, so this is crazy. Could he pass as Amandla Stenberg's dad? Like, could he play old enough? Could he play 37, 38?
Have him grow a beard. Or a goatee, 100%. Or a dad stash,
And so you get the obligatory dad, starts the movie being unsure about how to relate to his daughter, but through this ordeal, they have a nice little reconciliation. And maybe it doesn't even need to be about her being gay, right? Like, I wouldn't even go that far with it. But if they just have some sort of a strained relationship, but they can come together over the course of this movie, it's just another nice little heartstring pull.
Well, I was thinking this, if he's not her dad, what if he is her older brother that has to take care of her because the parents are dead? That pressure of taking care of someone that's near your age, but they're younger than you, so they're dumber than you, and you know that you know better than them, but you are still in shouting distance of each other's age, so you don't get quite the respect. You know what I mean? That's hard.
Probably easier to swallow,
right? And she starts hanging out.
He had a kid at 11,
Also, right. But also, I love that idea, Ed, because like from his perspective, then or from her perspective, then he could very much still be playing that role of like old, out of touch person trying to tell us what's what.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an extra added layer of pathos because that is a role that he's just trying to play that he's maybe not suited to. And so they both have something to learn here. Like she has to learn to trust him and his love for her. He has to learn, that he can't substitute as her dad, and they have to find a new dynamic. And I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. Let her have her own friends. Some of them are vampire slayers that are going to help the world be saved. Sometimes when she's out doing a bunch of crap, it's not bad. You got to learn to trust her a little bit. I love all that.
Yeah. I kind of love, this movie is really sort of a teenage rah-rah fist pump because we're sort of rejecting all of the old people's wisdom, right? Buffy is telling them to, you got to go train in the woods to become the new Slayer. No, we're not going to do that. Willow is like, come and join me. Take the power. You can rule the world. No, we're not going to do that. Ray Fisher's all like, you got to protect yourself and be safe. Don't go hanging around with these bad kids, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about. It's very much about like, as kids, we're going to find our own way. Stop trying to control our lives. It's a great through line.
In the best way possible. It's a little bit of shades of Terminator 2. Your Buffy is essentially your Sarah Connor, and then you have your new Buffy, which is John Connor, that has his own way, and it's not the way his mom did it, and a whole bunch of other stuff. This is like 10 different things mixed together, which usually makes a good movie, right?
So the Doomer in the chat just said, solve your must-have robots problem by making Ray Fisher a cyborg. I don't know that we're going to do that.
Stop.
No, we're not doing that. Absolutely.
All right. Well, so I'm assuming that Zack Snyder is going to direct this thing. So is it time?
Yep.
Should we just give him the pitch and see what him and Peters think?
Yep.
Have we officially done it? Have we achieved it?
How are we feeling at this point? I don't want to call it prematurely.
Well, I don't want to do
like
Bill's job, but as far as checklist, we have a villain with real motivation. We have a hero who dies tragically, like Velvet Hammer Billy loves, so that the young people can take over. We have an actual theme, which is young people fighting and casting off the shackles of old wisdom, as it were, and fighting and we don't have to fight the same battles as the elder generation. We have LGBTQ representation that is not forced or weird and the part of the text. We have an older white man movie star guy, Stephen Lang, coming in there to play this groomer part to like elucidate all that Josh crap. I don't know. What am I missing here? We have action galore with Buffy coming into town and showing some real ass kicking for about 45 minutes before she croaks.
I think we're good.
I think honestly, the only thing that we haven't really settled on would be like other supporting characters if we want to build out more of that Buffy-esque cast, but they would be such minimal roles anyway. That's something you figure out when you're writing the screenplay.
One of them's
somebody in the
be
chat
comedic, one of them's going to be the nerd that does the science. We're going to have a cool crew that gets stuff done, but just has a few good lines.
We might have, to Bill's point earlier, we might have the first really smart Buffy. If she knows a little bit about technology and she has a little bit of a different edge to her slaying,
I would love
that's
that.
an interesting
And Andrew Peters brought up a good point. We're missing Romania, but I would just assume maybe Willow's, we only have to shoot there. It has to be something that we could, looks like, I'm assuming otherworldly or whatever. I would just assume like Willow's
in a
headquarters or whatever. Yeah, that's where she's at.
Yeah.
She's a magic lady in a castle. Come on.
And she's got the dinosaurs. I saw someone else in the chat said you guys didn't do dinosaurs. No, she's got the hell vampire dinosaurs. She's got all these creatures in her castle.
That's why storming her castle is super hard. You got to get past dinosaurs. You got to get past 7-foot tall undead vampire
demon
lords
stuff.
You gotta get, and then when you get down there, an all powerful witch is waiting for you.
There is one thing that I do want to say, and you guys can go with me or not. I want to see Aaron Kruger, Makesh, do the makeup. She's just done a bunch of really great monsters in a ton of different movies.
No, I object. Awful. I hate it.
How
Not
dare you,
doing
Ron?
it.
How
You had me
dare
this
you?
whole time, and now I say no.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I think that is a great choice. I've seen a bunch of her, like, sort of when she's like doing her molds and different stuff. She does have a particular style.
Yeah.
Well, guys, get them on the horn because I am going to call it. We've achieved reboot, baby. We
Yeah.
are rebooting Buffy the Vampire Slayer as an epic action movie to be directed by Zack Snyder. In this movie, the vampire apocalypse hasn't quite happened, but it's on the horizon. It's growing, it's swelling, and our action takes place in a small, secluded town where most of the populace is not willing to admit that it's happening. Early in the movie, I'm talking first 5 to 10 minutes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer strolls into town like an Old West gunslinger because the vampires have marked this town for annihilation, and Buffy is here to stop it. That is our ordinary world. We get a good 30 minutes of Buffy helping this town to gird their loins for this vampire attack. Some amazing stunt and action work when the vampires do attack. And at the Act 1 turn, Buffy is bit. Thankfully, in town, there's a group of teenagers who are there to save her and pull her out of the crap, including a young girl played by Olivia Rodrigo, who tries to nurse Buffy back to health, but Buffy now has a ticking clock. If she doesn't bite someone to become a full vampire, she will die within a matter of days. And in those days, she has to impart what she knows on this young group of kids. During this time, into town strolls Giles, an old man who is, after Buffy passes, let me get this straight. Before Buffy passes, she imparts to the new kids that behind the vampire attack is Willow, a demonic witch who has seized power for herself and now uses the vampires like foot soldiers. Buffy passes away, and now the teenagers are left on their own to defend the town, despite the protests of the new Buffy's girlfriend's brother, played by Ray Fisher. Into town strolls Giles, an old man who claims to be the trainer of Buffy, and he tries to get the new Buffy to go train with him in the woods and become a slayer. This very esteemed sort of tradition of people who fight against the vampire menace, but new Buffy isn't having it. At the same time, Willow comes and offers a devil's bargain to Buffy's girlfriend, played by Amanda Stenberg. Become powerful like me, because at one point I too was at Buffy's side, and all it did was hold me back. Now you can have everything that I have, including these demonic dinosaurs that stand at my side. The new Willow, Amanda Stenberg, rejects this offer, goes back to Buffy. Maybe they even decide to go with Giles into the woods to train, but somewhere along the way, they discover that Giles is actually working with Willow, and it's up to the kids and Ray Fisher, apparently, and maybe Ray Fisher builds robots, to use their command of technology and humanity to fight against this vampire scourge. And finally, at the end, we get witch leader Willow deposed, which helps stop the spread of vampirism. We haven't quite figured that out. The mechanics of how killing Willow or taking away her power or whatever they do depowers the vampires. We'll figure it out. Zach, maybe you've got some thoughts. Guys, what did I miss? Was that about it?
Whew, that was a lot, but it tracked. It tracked. This was a journey, and Mr. Snyder, what do you think?
Guys, wow, what a pitch that was. I mean, oh man. There's just one problem.
Okay,
what's that?
I don't control the rights to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know I told you I did, but I lied.
What was the point of this whole 2-hour thing then?
You know what the point was? You guys talk a lot of trash for a bunch of would-be development execs, and I am a goddamn blockbuster filmmaker. I'm a visionary of his generation who commands an army of online supporters, and you guys are constantly talking trash. I am sick of it. So screw you guys. That's what Zack Snyder has to say.
I mean, to be fair, it's mostly Bill. Like, I don't say anything.
That's the truth. It's him.
No, I've said some terrible things.
I don't care who says it. I'm sick of it. I make the movies that define this generation, and you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. Excuse me. I'm sorry. What the hell did you just say? I said, there's no movie here. This was all a put on to put these assholes in their place. Oh, that's what I thought you said. Because let me tell you something, Mr. God of modern cinema. Nobody puts John Peters in his place. Nobody.
What is happening?
Mom and Dad are fighting, bro.
Should we leave?
I'll tell you what. Reboot Crew, you're hired. You guys get jobs with me, and we're going to make the next blockbuster picture. Let me tell you something, Zach. We are going after a $200 million budget from Disney. And if you go over to Paramount, John Peters is going after a $200 million budget from Paramount. Me and the Reboot Crew are about to muscle you right out of this goddamn business. And then you can take your online army and shove it right up your ass, because I am going to make sure you never get a $100 million blockbuster ever again, you absolute trash bag.
Yeah. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah.
Also,
So
we're hired.
We're hired.
Is that right?
Hey, let's not get our panties in a twist. You still work for me. But I'll tell you one thing, Zack Attack, I've had it with your nonsense. I'm sending you back to the School of Visual Arts or wherever it is you learned your stick up the ass, your head up your ass cinematography. I am sick of it. Zack Snyder, get the hell off my phone call. I don't know what everybody's getting so mad about. I'm just a nice guy. I'm just a nice filmmaker trying to do his best to make his way in the world. So I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
That's what happens to gaslighters.
Yeah, that's me.
It is those two on this side, not over here. So wait, Mr. Peters, does that mean we're cool now?
Yeah, we're cool. I think I might have gotten a little heated before, but listen, this is still on you guys. You got to make this work. I've got no room for incompetence, but I think we can get back to making great pictures together. Are you in?
I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, and I bet all our YouTube fans are really going to enjoy you being back as well, by the way.
Oh, yeah. YouTube loves you.
I'm sorry, what? What? You're still on YouTube?
I mean, just like once a week.
Are we on YouTube right now, you sons of bitches?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Do you have YouTube?
No.
You're fired! You know what? I am so sick of this nonsense. You sons of... That's it! Oh my God, I'm gonna bury you worse than I bury Zack Snyder. There's one thing that John Peters is good at, and that's burying assholes in the graves of Hollywood. I am coming for you all. Mark my words.
The line went dead.
That was a roller coaster. I'm sorry I mentioned the YouTube, guys.
Oh,
Ron.
So if Peters is gone and now Snyder was our last chance, this is the series finale then, right? We got nothing else.
Well, we've got a merch store. If you didn't catch it at the beginning, let's tell everybody
Great.
again. You can get Rebooted merch at the link in the description. There it is. That's what the TeePublic store looks like. And frankly, we could really use it because we have no idea what we're going to be doing.
What's going on then?
Getting a call?
I'm getting another call. Hold on.
Still doing a show. We're still doing a show, man.
Hello?
Really? We're gonna do this right now?
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I've been pretty busy. I could do.
We used to work for Peter.
If we don't do this anymore, that's cool. I mean, we'll still talk to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
No, we're available. We're available.
What?
We're available.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Hold on. Wait. No. You want us to do what? Yeah, let me talk to the guys. Hold on. We might have another job. I don't know if you guys are going to like it.
I'm leaving a YouTube comment right now. You guys are idiots, and you're not even real fans. This is the worst Buffy I've ever seen. Get out of here.
Like, I seriously couldn't imagine a world where I wouldn't be excited for a Zack Snyder vampire movie, and yet here we are.
Dude, they ignored the cannon. I want to load them in a cannon and shoot them at a brick wall, brah. Awful.
Where's SMG? Where is she?
Right? You know what? I got one thing to say about these guys. They're ego-driven pricks.
Yeah, they're the worst. I hate them so much.
That with the steak, and then just like
Wait, guys, wait.
What?
Where are we?
Huh.
Whoa.